Hello dear students, welcome to the lecture 10 of Introduction to Programming with C# course. So today we are going to compose a registration and login system with using a text file system. We will hash passwords for encryption, and I will also show you how to do text wrapping in buttons. So I'm going to compose a new VPF project as usual. By the way, in the updated version of Visual Studio, it is not anymore .NET Core, but it is named as .NET only. So in the updated version, you will see .NET and .NET Framework. Okay, so .NET Core is now named as .NET. If you can't find .NET Core, look for .NET. I will update my application as well. I haven't yet. Okay, so let's select our folder. Okay. Okay, so the project is composed. I will add tabs to make login and registration. It will also give you an idea how to achieve it in your project. So we have tab items and tab control. Let's give a name to our tab items as tab login or tab register or login. Yeah, make the login first. Okay, let's call this as login, and then tab register. Okay, by the way, this will be the name, and let's call this register. Okay, so in the login window, what would you have as default? You would have two text boxes for username and password. So let's add first username. Okay. And we will add a password, but however, for password we are not using text box. What are we going to use is we are going to use a password box, okay, which is here, and let's name them as like this. Okay, I'm going to add labels to top of them. Okay. Okay. Okay, currently I am not focused on the visual appearance, visual quality of the software. I am just trying to show you how to do it, because visual design is something different topic. It is more about a talent and experience. So let's give a name to our text box. Text username. Okay, we will allow only minimum 3 characters usernames. Therefore, I am going to set min length as there should be a min character, but I am not sure. There is min. I think min width as 3 character. So the user will be able to enter minimum 3 characters, and let's say maximum 20 characters. So let's make it as max length as 20. By the way, this should be also length. Interesting, there is no min length. You see, this is framework element min width, this is text box max length. So what else can there be for length? Let's look from the Google. We will also control it from code behind, but I would like to have, okay, looks like there is no min length. Okay. Okay, looks like there is no min length property. So we did set maximum length as 20 character. We will check the rest from code behind. And what we are going to add is we are going to add a button for login. Okay. Login. And if user doesn't have an account, we will let him go to the register with a button click, like here. Okay, go to registration tab. You see now it is not fitting to my button, therefore I will add a new line, this, or how was it? I am trying to remember how we were putting a new line. Okay, so this is the way it is. Instead of we are writing the content here, what we are going to do is we are removing this and we are making the button start and end like this, and inside here we are writing the text block. Okay, so go to register tab for registration. Okay, so you see now it is being fit to my button area with text wrapping, and okay, so this is fine. So let's give them name and compose click events btn login, and VTN go to register. Okay, so we have made the basic structure of the login page. Then we will make the register. At the register panel, what information we are going to take? Okay, to make it similar to the given project, I will add several features for registration. So we will get the authority level of the registering user. Okay. So let's make it like or let's name it as account type. Okay, so this combo box, from this combo box, the user will pick its account type. What types we are going to have? We will have student account, okay, lecturer account, and guest account, okay. Then what else we will need? I am going to add, by the way, we can make this inside grid. Okay, so make them like grid, like this. So they should be automatically positioned. You see, it is not inside the grid yet, so I have cut them and paste them into grid. Oh, okay, like this. Now they are inside the grid. Okay, so vertical alignment top, width, vertical alignment. Oh, I'm going to remove this margin because they are inside the grid now. So let's remove this. And how can you make the effect of table? I am looking for that. Okay, so people are using some stack panel for us. Or okay. Let's try with a stack panel rather than grid. Okay, and let's put the name from here to here, from here to here. Okay, it says press Alt button. Okay, so it is inside the stack panel. I'm going to take this into the stack panel as well. Okay. Okay, so this is taking the full space and this is being like this. So let's make the stack panel alignment or vertical alignment, horizontal, left. Okay, I see. So this is not a good way. Okay, anyway, I will just take every action to back. I will check something. Hmm, how to position elements as in table. I see. So there is grid and yeah, there are grid row definition, stack panel grid row. So this is the grid method sample. So there is column 0, row 0, column 1, row 0. Okay, anyway, how it is defined as 3 columns and 3 rows. Oh, that's rectangle. Okay, I think I have found something related to this. So there is grid column definitions and grid row definitions, and there are, oh, I see. So this is how we do it. Okay, let's make this way so we will learn how to make it. Okay, so we define a grid, and inside the grid, I'm deleting this, we give row and column definitions. And so this is 3 rows and 3 columns. What we are going to have is we will have many rows but 2 columns. Therefore, I am making it as like this and like this. Okay. Then inside here, what we are going to do is we are going to define buttons and labels or whatever we need. Okay, so let's add a label here, and let's make the content of the label as choose account, or let's name it as account type. This will be grid, row equal to 1 and grid column equal to 1. Okay, then we will add another button like this, and this will be combo box. Sorry about that. The first option will be a combo box, and let's name it as name account types. Let's name as okay, so this will be grid row 1 and grid column 2. Okay, so where is the error? When I run the application, let's see what we see. Okay, so this is what we get, and this is not what we want. So this is not visible. Probably it is because we didn't define any length or width. Let's define the width equal to something like this. I am making mistakes somewhere, but I am not sure. So grid column 1 and grid column 2, button 2 and button 3. So button 1 is written like this. I see. So it is starting from 0. So this is 0 based. Therefore, we will name it like this. And it's like this. Okay. Okay, now I can see it. When I remove it. Okay, so this is the label. And this is the combo box, but they are taking full space. So, if we make it like this will not work. So let's make them like 100 pixels. Okay, so the width and the height of the row. By the way, so the columns have width and the rows have height. Okay, so now it looks fine. And what other options there are? Vertical align, horizontal. Let's run the application to see. Currently, this is not positioned as centered. I will also check that if it is possible. Okay, now it is 100 height and 100 width. So can we set width and height as auto? I wonder that. maybe make it like this. Okay, so this is centered, but this is not, because it is taking full space as label. Therefore I will make it as perhaps auto. Auto is not working. Yeah, they are by default centered right now, centered both horizontally and vertically. So let's make the width 200 and height perhaps 80 pixel. Okay, so now you see they are automatically positioned, and we can make the label font size something bigger. For example, 20, or 20 is too big. 14, yeah, 14 looks good. And by the way, I have to increase the height. I will make the maximum height. Max height equal to 40 pixel. And let's make this the max height equal to 40 pixel. Okay. Okay, and everything looks good. Maybe we can give the max width as 90%. Oh, it is not working. So the percent basis is not working. Okay, let's run and see how it looks. Okay, you see it is looking great. And we can continue. So what's next? So the next thing is adding a text box for getting the username. And this time we are going to add a text box. Text box. Max length will be 20%, 20 character, and max lines will be 1, because we can't have multi-line username. And grid row will be 1, and grid column will be 1 in this case, and the name will be txt user name register. By the way, I can't use txt username because I have used the txt username here, so I can't use this. Okay, so let's make this as txt username login and txt username register. So now it is taking full space. Let's give it a maximum height, not 20 but perhaps 40 pixel. And we also need to add row to label. Okay, you see now they are being automatically perfectly positioned, and I can also change the position of the grid to move them as I want. Okay, so the text box is not centering the text you type. To fix that, I will also add font size equal to 14, vertical alignments center, and Horizontal alignment, center, perhaps O. And the max width will be, I don't know, or min width. Let's make this as equal to, if we want to make it full, we can make it 200. And let's add min height. Okay, so when we run it this way, whatever I type will be both horizontally and vertically centered. Okay, so let's check it out. Oh, it is not working. Interesting. Okay, it has one row, one column. Yeah, it is centered. However, it is not working. Why? If I delete this, it doesn't work. Set to auto and set to auto. So if I delete this, what happens? Default. Let's remove the min keyword and make it certain width and height. Maybe it is because of min max lines and min lines. I will check that as well. Still not working as expected. Let's remove max lines and try this way. This is interesting. This is also, they are all textbook, but I have written incorrectly. Okay, it says let's add a padding to 0. Maybe it will fix it as suggested. No, it's not working. If we remove height, what happens? gets default height. However, it is still not aligned. Let's add border thickness and border brush. And oh, I see. If we specify font size and height explicitly, it says it cannot handle it. So I will make padding and border brush and border thickness. Let's make the padding 10. And let's try this way. Border seems like not working though. Okay, now it is working. Yes. You see, it is both vertically and horizontally. Oh, no, only vertically aligned. We can also fix that with width property, probably. If I remove it. So if you want it to be both horizontally and vertically center aligned, you shouldn't specify. Okay. Okay, now as I type, it gets bigger like this. However, this is not something that I would like. Therefore, I have to set a width. So if I set a width and remove font size, maybe this time it will work. No, not working and smaller. Okay, it is not that much important anyway. Maybe you can find a solution for this if you look more. Maybe we can set. I will look for something. Oh, this is interesting. Let's test this way. There is vertical element stretch and vertical content alignment center. Yeah, it is posted 2 times. And oh, I see. You see, if I make stretch, it is doing like this. However, this is not what I want. Okay. Okay, finally we have found it. Both vertically and horizontally center aligned. Okay, you see, perfectly working as we have wanted, and it is perfectly positioned. So you see now, this is how you can design a well positioned design. I wonder if we can reorganize this XML file. No, it didn't work. Quick actions and refactoring. Control plus. No. Okay. Okay, I will continue. I'm taking a break. One moment. Um, we have added account type, username, and we are going to add password. By the way, I can remove this text box from here and make it like this, so it would work as well. So I'm just doing a copy paste, and this time it will be password, and let's make it as instead of text box it will be a password box. Okay, and I have to give it a new name, password 1, register, and let's change its row numbers here. Okay, so now we have a password, and we need to add a password verification as well, because if user enters a wrong password, we can warn the user to re-enter the password. So this will be password 2 and password verification, or let's say re-enter password. Let's look how it is done in other websites. They use single password. It was being password verification, however. Create account. They have blocked my IP range. You see, we are using a shared IP because we are on CGNet, and maybe thousands of people are using same IP. Let's try register Google. Okay, they have named it as password and verify. So let's check the English, what have they have written. Password confirm. Okay. So you see, on the web, they use some cool new HTML effects like this. This would be probably possible in WPF as well, but I don't know how to make it easily. So let's make this one as different. What I mean is, I will show you. So this time we will add 2 more columns, and there is row definition. Okay, so I'm going to change these to row 2 and column 2 and column 3, row 2. Okay, you see it is automatically getting repositioned. with grid splitting, perfectly well positioned. Okay, and what else we can request from the user? Username, password. We can request email. So let's request email with okay. Um, email. Okay. And let's set its row. It will be 3 and here 3. Okay, so you see our grid has ended. Then I'm going to add another row here. Okay, and we have account type, username, password, re-enter password. By the way, our labels are not centered, and we can fix it by horizontal alignment center like this. So they will be centered if you want that, but I will let them to be as left aligned. And finally, we need to add a register button to complete registration. So let's add a button. Everything complete. And click event will be this. And I will set its grid, column and row. It will be on grid row 4, grid column 0. It says I have invalid break it somewhere here. Okay, complete register. I wonder if I can make this to span two columns. Column span. Yes, I can make it. I will make it 4. Okay. Now when I run it, let's see how does it look. Okay. So yes, it looks like this. I can reduce the size of these buttons if I want. Let's reduce them. Let's reduce their size. So to do it, I will set these as 150 pixels, and let's make this as 60 pixels. And let's run it. By the way, I have never done any real interface design in my any Windows-based application because I didn't do any commercial application. Therefore, I didn't need in good design. However, you may need a good design in future. Okay. So looks like our text boxes are broken. Why? Because we have set their width like this, and since we have reduced our width, it is changed. I wonder if we can set, if we can use a dynamic variable in XAML code. Okay, yes. Looks like I am able to bind. So I will add class to here. Add class. Let's name it as static variables. Okay, public static class. And let's define our variables names. Integer ir column size equal to 150 pixels. And by the way, this is column size and row size. Okay, so let's set this as column width. So a better naming. And row height. Okay. So the column size is 150. It is correct. So I need to bind this to here. Therefore, whenever I make a change, it will be automatically change it. Okay, I am adding binding, and how do we bind it? Source equal to x static local x static maybe full path. No, not working. Binding source. Oh, I see. Inside binding source, we have to use it like another curly bracket. And here, x static. Oh, binding source equal to. Oh, we don't have this. Okay. X static. Then local. And oh. My class name static. Oh, doesn't work. X static my maybe oh, I see. We have to define it in here. I suppose, yes. So x element as my, you see, like these ones, this is the definition, and namespace will be equal to lecture 1010. Okay, so this is our namespace here, and this is my new namespace. You see it is saying it is unnecessary. So this is like defining namespaces in background, in code behind. However, we are doing it in front coding in XML. Now I can use my and up, not up. Okay, what else? There is my up. Interesting. Why I cannot see it? Namespace lecture 10. My test static class. Why I am not able to? Oh, when I type it manually, it appears. Okay. So I am binding it to like this, and it says static variables does not exist in the namespace CLR namespace. However, it exists. So therefore, there is an error. What can be that error? There is binding from code, but I don't want that. There is a binding path. Okay, so we are learning another thing right now, which I have never done also before. Okay, there is binding source, static resource, my class path, my path. No, not this one. Okay, namespace. Maybe I need to make this namespace even more explicit. Okay. Okay, so this is a new feature with VPF 4.5, and how we do it. This is not a good answer. Ah, so this binding may also get updated whenever the background code is updated. So they use it. Binding path It is like this. I will copy it. And so let's remove this. And here, let's bind it as like this. So it will be my, and static variables dot, why it is not appearing? This is interesting. Public static class int. Maybe this should be a property. Let's try that. No, not working. XLMS local. CLR namespace replace binding. This is defined inside Windows X class. XLMNS. Why it is not working? Apart that. Okay, this is, you see it says lecture 10 dot static variables. Yes, it is existing. Static variables. This is a class. Maybe because we are using .NET Core. Maybe it is because why? Because of that. Let's look for it. .NET Core VPF static binding. Okay, let's look this way. Okay, so many answers, but none of them is working. This is weird. Okay, there is Windows resources. Maybe it is Y. Let's add Windows resources. Windows resources. Okay, it appeared. And XLMNSY. And now still not working. Okay. Maybe we should change this to something else. Framework element resources. Okay, you see, sometimes we have to search for an answer for a long time because this is how it is. And once you get a good example and find the correct answer, you will know it. Okay. Okay, so binding source. There are different namings. I wonder if all of them works. Binding source X my is my definement, and here we have okay, it doesn't appear. Let's move this to here and remove this. Static extension and okay, and okay, and when I run it, I am hoping that it will work. Okay, it says exception thrown XML parse exception in presentation framework data provide value on line number 32 and line position 43. Okay, it says two-way binding requires path or XPath. Okay, so this is not a two-way binding, and okay, I see. So with one-way binding, I think we have made it work. Let's make it like this for all. Now I can change my class to something else, and it will get updated on XML as well. Okay, and okay, 60 pixel, 150 pixel, column width pixels, and row height, let's make it 50 pixel. And it didn't get updated perhaps. So it will be equal to okay, says it's string but it is not. And let's run the application. Maybe it requires string instead of integers. I will change that. Okay. Okay. Nice. Now it is working as expected. So it gets updated according to our new variables. You see 110 and 50. So let's change them to like this. Okay. So we have made it work. When I reboot the application, these are not automatically get updated until you build the application. Okay, now it is updated. Yes. Yes, it is working as expected. So we have shown binding as well. I think I can say that this static binding is pretty advanced and complex programming. Personally, I have never done it before because I have never needed it. But when you are doing programming, you should use variable based programming whenever it is possible. Because let's say you have so many variables and you want to change something in your application, and that time you would be have to uh, change that number everywhere. However, if you bind it to a variable, you just change that variable, and then you would have updated all the numbers in your application. Like currently I can just update one number and it would be updated everywhere. There is also two-way binding, however it requires path or XPath, and when I set it as path, it says converted to be a property path. So binding source and path are different. Okay, there is path, username. Okay, it says path binding path is shown like this. So when I use binding path, I think I remove this and let's build to see. Okay, not working. Path is not working right now. It is taken as like this. So binding path equals interesting. When we change it to path, it is not working. There is binding source. Okay, we have made it work. Okay, so the path is binding path equals, maybe this requires string. Let's try it with a string. Let's oh, it says invalid markup. What is why? It says it is not. Let's rebuild. You see, sometimes you have to rebuild. Okay, yeah, it's still not working as expected. Anyway, if you are interested in two-way binding, you can search for it later. For now, this is enough. So let's continue to our registration system construction. Okay, so we have also added a complete register. Okay, so when you are registering a person, you have to make all the validations. Okay, you cannot never trust the user input data. So let's first define our rules. Number one rule is public static integer ir mean length username. I will allow only minimum 3 letters username. Okay, then let's set another one, max length. This will be 20 characters. Okay, okay. These are the commands I am making if someone else or I read my code later. Okay. So this is the length checked of the username. Then what rules I would need else? By the way, I will make these as private. Why? Because I will add a method here. Okay, so I will show you that what I mean. Okay, private integer. Then what other username check we would have? We can allow only certain characters to be used in a username. So therefore, let's define it. Unload characters, and we can set them as an array. So I will show you how to set them. So to assign it, I am going to write a constructor. What is a constructor? Constructor is a method which is called whenever this class is created. So even static classes are one time initialized when the first time they are accessed. Okay. So inside here, the constructor is written like this, static with the same name of the class name. Okay. Class, and in here I will initialize this list as English letters. English alphabet as array. I could also manually write them. Yes, someone has made it. Yeah. I think I will make it like this. To char array. By the way, this will be a list. Therefore, to list, I have to. Oh, I see. I have to use. Oh, there is no list. Oh, this returns as character array. Therefore, this have to be a character, of course. And then I have to convert this into. I can make this, by the way, array. I don't have to make it as list. But if I make it array list, I cannot. I mean, as array, I cannot modify it. Let's make it like this. Okay. By the way, I have to initialize it. So I am going to make initialization here, or let's make it as, yeah, character is fine. And add our character, and I will convert it into the lowercase. However, when you are converting to the lowercase, you have to specify the culture. Okay. Why? In Turkish, if you convert I into smaller case, it becomes I. However, in Turkish culture, if you convert it into small lowercase, it becomes I in English culture. Therefore, it is important to which culture you are using. So I will allow both Turkish characters and English characters. I am adding the Turkish characters like this in the username. What other characters I will allow? I will allow space character and this character, okay, in the username. So what other character may I need? I'm checking. Yo, this one. Okay. And then so let's define this as another variable. String characters equal to like this, and then I can use it like this. Okay, so this is adding the uppercase letters. Then I will add lowercase letters as well. However, this time I will use to lower, and when I am doing to lower, I will define the you see culture. Okay, so it has two methods, two overloaded methods, which is to lower and to lower with culture info. So I will define a new. You see, it has automatically suggested me to this one, new culture info, and my culture info will be. You see, the culture info can be integer, name, culture override, and user override, and such. So I will just provide name, which is tr. So I will be using Turkish culture, and of course I will use my variable. Then you see it is automatically looping through it as characters with for each method. So I have explicitly said here to char array. However, I don't have to use it. I can remove this as well. Okay, because the for each implicitly understands that I want to loop through character list. I could also define it like this. It would work. So, however, I can also make like this. Let's add a comment here. So, okay, this way we are initializing our list, and we have defined our several rules. Let's check if so far it is working or not. So I am going to make I am going to write a public method, public static string, or let's return tuple. Okay, so you will also learn about tuples with this way. So the tuples can have multiple items like this. You see T1, T2, T3, T7, and T-rest. This time we will be returning boolean and string, and the method name will be, or instead of tuple we can use also class. Yeah, it is better to use a class, I think, so you will understand it. Public class action result. Okay, this is the name I'm going to give. So the action result will take two parameters, which is a boolean be a result, and string as our result message. And by the way, class cannot take parameters. This would, I mean, it will have two fields, which will be public bool result. By default, let's make it false, and string sr result message. Let's make it by default NA, not available. And let's write our method. So our method will return type of our custom class. Instead of void or integer or string, these are the return types we have used. It will return our custom class type of object, and I'm going to name my method as check if username valid. Okay, and this method will be static, and therefore I don't have to initialize it. And it says, you see, it does not all code path returns a value. So I define an object of my custom class type. Let's say check result equal to new action result. Then I am typing here check result like this. What this is going to do is it will check whether username is valid or not. Therefore, I'm going to take sr username like this. So let's add our checks. Our first check will be min length and max length. So if sr username length smaller than ir min length, you see this is a private value, therefore it has a lock item. I will return check result. How can we do that? Yeah, let's make it like this. I will assign the check result. By the way, let's make this true by default. And our check result will be false. Check result, and message will be your username cannot be smaller than 3 characters length, or less than. And okay, if it is bigger than the maximum username, this time we will say that, by the way, let's make it also dynamic. Don't manually type variables in your code ever, because if you change it later, you have to change it everywhere. So I have added this and made it like this, and this time I will make it as bigger than. And another check is the characters. This time it will be like this for each. You see, I have made it by default true, and if it fails at one check, it will become false. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to check every character of the username char, and if our lst allowed characters list, you see it is private by this lock item, I can understand, contains your username char equal to false. Okay, that means user has picked a character that is not allowed in username. Okay, I will just set the result again false, and I will say that your username cannot contain character. By the way, whenever an application says that I cannot use that username and doesn't tell me what is wrong with my username or which character is not allowed in my username, I really hate that. So you should display the user, the client, what is the error exactly. Okay, by the way, we are getting out of time. Okay, so I will say that your username cannot contain character this. Okay, so I think maybe we can add code. Let's find the code character. Okay, I am looking for this one. Like this and this. Okay. Then I will return the object which is check result from the type of action result. Okay. So now we can check the so far code is working or not. And var equal to static variables, and you see action result is a public type because with that way I can access it. And I will remove this prop because we didn't use it, and I am going to use this method, and I will provide txt username register. You see the other one is also available because all of the tabs are on our main window class. Okay, and if vr result equal to false, I will show the user that the message returned by our method. Okay, like this. Okay, everything looks great. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here, and I am going to put a breakpoint here so that you can understand when this constructor is called. This constructor is called whenever I make a call to any variable or method inside this class. Until I make a call, a method or variable or field or property or method inside this class, basically to this class, this constructor will not be called. So I am running my application. Okay. So you see it is already called. Why? Because I am making a reference to this one at the initialization of the application, because they are accessed during the initialization of the main window, the user interface. Therefore, it is immediately called without doing anything else. So we can add another class to separate this behavior and show you better. Let's add another class and call it as public. Let's call it as our helper methods. Okay. So I will make this helper methods static as well. And I will move my methods and classes inside here. This time this will change because you see method must have a return type, because it is not understood by the compiler as the constructor, and when I change it, it becomes like this. And I'm going to get this to inside this class as well. Okay, no, so the static variables are here, and okay, this is here. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here and a breakpoint here. Okay, so now you will see that this is not immediately called, because there is no reference to it at the moment during the initialization of the application. Okay, it says yes, and now it is changed to helper methods. Okay, let's run the application. Okay, you see, this didn't get immediately called. However, let's make a constructor here again. Okay, let's put a breakpoint here as well. So I want you to understand when the constructor of a class is executed. It is executed whenever the first time a call, a reference to any element of that class is made. So this is immediately getting executed because we are referencing to variable that during the initialization of the user interface. You see, there is no main window right now at my screen. And whenever I continue, you see it is appearing. Yes, it is appeared. And whenever I hit complete button, it will get inside of this method. The other constructor will also get executed. So let's try it as okay. So far, let's go and check it. So you see this list is still empty. It doesn't show me yet because this class is not initialized. And I will continue with step over. Okay. Now you see the constructor of the class is getting executed before it gets into this method. I am making a call to this method here. However, before this method get executed, the constructor of the class has to be executed. Okay. So let's check if our method is working. It is adding characters. You see, it is also showing me the integer value of characters here. And let's continue the execution until this point of the software. Continue. Okay, so it says culture is not supported. Parameter name. Okay, so obviously I have entered incorrect culture identifier. So it is not TRTR, but oh, I see. You see, I have put a space in the culture where it is here. Yes, you see the space here. It is breaking my code. Let's run application again. Okay, let's continue. Okay, let's click. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so the list is initialized. You see, it contains all the uppercase letters. It also contains my Turkish letters. You see, Turkish characters, this space character, and this character. I don't know the English, what was it? And the lowercase characters. Okay, and then it will continue executing the method call here. So it will first initialize an instance of this class object here. Let's continue. Okay, it is initialized with the default values true and NA. Then it will continue checking the it will continue executing our code program, and we have checked its length. It is equal to 8, which is bigger than the minimum length and smaller than the maximum length. Then it will check each character of the username with our list. Okay, you see it is going to check small g, and the list contains it, therefore continue, and then finally it will return the result. Okay, so the result, it is true, therefore no result message is returned. Okay, it appears that our code is once again broken visually because we also have to change the values here. You see the importance of dynamic binding, because whenever I make a change, I have to change it everywhere if I don't use variable binding. Okay, so I'm going to bind these as well to my variables. So you see, if I have to change the width of any object, I would have to change it everywhere, and if I wouldn't make the change or miss the change, the application would get broken. However, if I bind that variable, that settings to a variable with just a single change of the parameter of the variable, it would be updated everywhere. Okay, let's remove all the breakpoints with detach all, and you see now it is working as expected. Okay, let's remove all breakpoints, delete all breakpoints, run the application. Okay, so if our entered username is valid, it will not show me anything like this. Okay, and if I make it 2 characters, you see it says your username cannot be less than 3 characters length. Okay, let's try something bigger. Okay, since I have limited the text box with maximum 20 characters, I cannot exceed 20 characters length without modifying the application from memory. Okay. However, you never trust client-side input, therefore you have to verify it yourself at the code behind as well. But since this is a desktop-based application, they can always hack your application. But if this was on a server with working with a web API, it would work at the code behind check. Anyway, you will understand it later, not at this course. So let's use some not allowed characters like this. And you see, it says your username cannot contain character star. Okay, or let's add a space. It should work. Yes, it is working. Okay, this is also working. However, if I make it like this, it will give me an error because we didn't add numbers. Okay, and let's try like this. You see, it is not working. Okay. So you understand the basic concept of validation of input from the user and how to write custom classes and methods to make that verification. Okay, you see it is I signed it but never use it, therefore it has a green underline. All right, so we have shown this, and okay, I will show the rest next week because this part was already very useful, and we have made this tab much better align it and position it than the other tab. I will also add some margin to the borders with just modifying the grid. You see, this is the grid. I will add a margin to it, like 5. You see, now it is not at the edges of the screen. It has 5 pixel margin. Okay, I think now it looks better. You can also add some padding to it, and let's see how padding looks. Oh, there is no padding to the grid. Okay, let's see if we can add somehow. Okay, they use a border to control outside sound. Okay, let's try this. Maybe this will work as we wanted. So we write it here, I think, grid resources, and let's run the application. Okay, I think it doesn't work because I still see this is exactly aligned to the grid itself. Okay, so this didn't work. Okay, there is style target. Okay, maybe this can work. This is a style target type. There is row spacing and column spacing. Let's try this. Maybe this may work. I'm not sure what word to try. Okay. No, it doesn't work because there is no such property. Maybe we can add some margin. No margin. Maybe some margin here. No margin. Okay. Okay. Let's try this one. Grid resource grid. No changes. Okay, it appears that we have to manually set for each type of object. Yeah, I think we can do this. Let's try that way. So this will be for text box. Let's make it as 5 pixel. Okay, you see text boxes now have 5 pixel margin inside the grid. Okay, I think I will make it as, if you make it like 5, 5, 5, yeah, and okay, margin is applied only from the right side. Okay, so we can set a margin like this. I think I will apply a margin to button only, and let's make the value equal to 3. Okay, and yeah, now looks better. Let's make it 5. Okay, so now it has 5 points margin from the grid. We can see it like this. You see it has margin to 5 pixel to the grid cells, as can be seen here. If I add another row, you will see it better. Let me add another row to my grid. Okay, now you see it has 5 pixel margin to the grid, but I think it is only top and left. If I make it like 5, 5, 5, and oh, it is looking same. Anyway, we can leave it like this. Okay, let's take our notes for this lesson context. So what we have seen so far, this is kind of recap. Okay, so how to wrap text inside a button in .NET Core BPF button. Okay. By the way, this is .NET, name it as .NET from after all in the most recent Visual Studio. Okay, we have seen how to use a grid system to how to use grid system is equal to table system or table layout. How to use grid system as a table layout. Okay, layout to position elements like in Excel, Word, or HTML. Okay, or maybe CSS. HTML should more fine. Okay, and how to bind XML elements to static variables in your BPF application. How to compose a custom class to return more than one result from custom methods. Okay, how to use static class constructors to initialize objects. Okay, in call. Okay. Okay, what else we have shown? Checkers. how to write proper classes. Okay. How to use culture info to turn upper case letters to lowercase or the opposite. Okay, I think this is descriptive. Okay. By the way, you can also use the opposite of this to lower method, which is here. You can use also to upper. Okay, it is same. So let's note them as well. I think it is named as okay, like this. And you see, this way we will be adding multiple times. Therefore, I will remove the duplicates inside this list by to this okay, why there is distinct. This is weird because this character array. Mm, 4 seconds. Why this link queue is not appearing on my list? I cannot use select or distance. This is really weird. There is no select. Let's see if we are missing a namespace. Yes, I see. You see, we are missing link queue from our namespaces here. So I have to add it. And then I can use the link queue extensions such as distance. Okay. So this will remove duplicate elements from the list. However, this returns an array. Therefore, I have to convert it back to list. Okay. Yeah. Extension method. Okay. You have to use methods. Duplicate elements from a list. Okay. So this will remove. I will also show you with default globalization how it is being. So my computer is currently set to US culture. Therefore, let's see. Let's see the default behavior. Okay. So I am just doing copy paste. I will just do a copy paste to show you here. Uh, of the operation system. In my case, it will be okay. So I am removing this and just calling to lower. Okay, and let's see what kind of result it generates. I am putting a breakpoint here and let's run it. Okay, you will see the difference. I'm just putting a button. Okay, so you see it has converted like this. There is I and I. Okay, you see we have lost I. Okay, it is read as I in Turkish. However, all other unique characters are converted. Oh, also we have lost the R. Okay, so let me show you. G. Oh, R is converted correctly. Okay, so the only thing that is not converted correctly is it is converted as I. However, if we check this one, we will see that it has I here. You see, we have lost this character in regular conversation, and there is also two invariant cultures. Let's also test that. Okay. A and B, I will make two different cases. Okay. So try invariant with English culture to lower invariant and by the way, the invariant culture doesn't take cultures as expected. Okay. Okay, let's rename this. So I have deleted these letters and now it will provide me to rename. So it will rename all the references to this object by default. Okay, you see it is renamed here as well. Let's note that as well. Okay. Okay. So let's check the invariant culture. Okay, in invariant culture, yes, we are losing. Oh, we are not losing. Yeah. Okay. So it is converted as like this. I. Yes, it has converted bigger I into I. In invariant, it has converted I into I. In English culture, I to I, I to I. Okay, so this is the difference when you are working with multicultural environment. You have to always set culture yourself. Okay, so this is also converted differently, I think. So this is the number 11th. Number 12. Number 12 is this one. And no, it is the L, I think. Yeah, it is something different. Okay, so the unexpected conversation is this one. And also invariant culture didn't remove Turkish accent. Okay, you see, they are remaining. To have uh, synchronization between different devices, with different cultures, you should specify culture yourself. An alternative way would be setting the culture of the method, entire method itself. We can set it like this. I think I will show it in the following courses in the next semester, so I am just passing it for now. Okay, and at the next lecture we will see, at the next lecture we will continue from wherever we left. Lecture, I'm taking my notes. Okay, I think there is nothing else we have missed to show, to write. Okay, let's upload our source code. If you don't understand any part of this lecture, please ask me through email or from our Discord channel. I prefer our Discord channel so everyone can see it, see your question and learn from the question answer. Okay, try to be stay away from coronavirus. And today I learned that one of my friend's father has passed away from coronavirus. It is really, really serious disease. Hopefully see you next week.